Hey guys, welcome back to episode 5 of Enigmatica 2 Expert Mode. So I've had a bit of a change of plan here. We were doing magic last time because we were waiting on the void ore miners running here in order to get dimensional shards in order to automate the calcium sulfate. And I want to speed this up and realize that you can also get it from the laser, the industrial foregoing laser here. So I quickly set this up. Just here it also needs direct access to bedrock, and I let that run in order for us to get enough dimensional shards for the infused diamond in order to get this chemical, or not the chemical oxidizer, chemical infuser here. So you need these infused diamonds, which uses the dimensional shards, and these come from the ore miner tier 5, and we only have the tier 3 just now, or the lasers. And the laser takes about the same amount of power this takes at this current tier, so it's about 44,000. This allows us to start setting up this calcium sulfate. So the calcium sulfate requires a solution, and it's a bunch of chemical reactors. I'm just in the middle of setting that up right now, and the reason we need the calcium sulfate is to get the crystal binder, and I want to use this to unlock both draconic evolution, and also I want to make a Mekanism Fusion Reactor, which is going to require some more infrastructure, but that means we won't have to worry about any other power issues or anything. It basically means once I set this up, that's going to be us for the rest of the game in terms of power, because that'll get us millions of RF compared to the 80-odd thousand we're making right now. So I'm going to finish setting up this calcium sulfate. I've been redesigning it a bit because I want it to be like a flat face here, and it's difficult with doing it with these mechanism machines since you can't configure the output and input side. But yeah, I'm going to get that figured out and I'll come back in a sec. Okay, I managed to set up the sulfuric acid here after a bit of debugging. But the hardest part was trying to get all the machines on one face here and be able to hide all the cables. Because of these two mechanism machines, they have to be the same side. And yeah, I kept getting fluids and stuff mixed up. But yeah, it's done now. I've also added the 2 extra rock crushers here for andesite and granite, and that gets us a few things we'll need for later on for crafting. But the most important thing now is we have calcium sulfate. So now we can get the crystal binder, the elite plating, and then I'm going to jump right into this fusion reactor here. So that should allow us to make the reactor controller now, once I put in these recipes. There we go, that's our reactor craft started. I'm going to start building an area for this, probably underneath the existing one. The extreme reactors, I mean. So yeah, I'm going to start building. Okay, so it's now a few hours later. I've been doing some building here. It took me a long time to get this place figured out, and I still don't know if I'm 100% happy with this, but yeah, this is what we've got for now. It's mainly this roof that I think I'm going to end up changing. I don't like how boxy this place is, but I added in some grass to change up the colour from all the grey. I think it does help out quite a lot, and I'll put in, maybe replace that with a custom tree. But yeah, we've got our reactor sitting in here now. I got it built. It's not finished. I still need to add a way to start it. So you basically need to bank RF and lasers that I've got in here, and then you fire that into the reactor along with fuel, which we also need to set up, and they'll go in these two ports here, and then the third port will be for energy out. So yeah, I like the way this turned out, this room here. I'm not sure about this part here. This might get changed again still, but this is what we got for now. And I'm thinking about moving Botania over here. I don't know if it'll be enough space. I haven't quite figured this out yet, but I might connect these two up because this building probably isn't going to go much further. I'll probably put a wall on here, and then it's going to extend along this way somehow. And then I'm not sure if I'll put things around these void ore miners or leave them outside, but definitely this cobblestone's all going to go. Yeah, so the building will be extended this way, and then Botania maybe here. And I still need to fix this face of the building here. But anyway, now that the reactor is built, we need to get the fuel situation sorted. So in order to fuel the reactor, we're going to need deuterium and tritium here, and these are from Mekanism. So the deuterium's fairly simple. It's just electrolyzing heavy water, which you just get from pumps. The tritium is a little bit more of an involved process. So they take those solar neutron activators, and so the tritium comes from lithium here, which we get from the thermal evaporation controller. These are big multi-block structures. We're going to need two of them, one to turn brine into lithium, and to get the brine we need to turn water into brine, and that will be how we power this reactor. And I intend just to set up some ender tanks to transport that fluid, and then we'll import it in these two hatches around here. As for how we're going to get energy around, I want to eventually set up flux networks. However, we can't quite craft those yet because we need a flux core. Basically, this mod allows infinite energy transport across dimensions as well. So, but this requires this flux, which we need a dimensional transceiver, and that requires draconium here, which we don't quite have yet. But once we get the tier 6 void ore miner, I think we'll be able to get this through the ore. Yeah, this one here. So it requires the tier 6 void ore miner, which we're slowly working towards. But once we get this power, it will allow us to get the ore miner. And for now, we can just use power cells to transfer the power. So I think that'll work out. But as for the fuel production, I think we're kind of running out of space over here. I want to leave this hallway for more machines. Probably the advanced rocketry multi-blocks. So I'll put along here. There might be a few other things, like a couple more mechanism machines that we need, and this will all be tidied up as well. But I was thinking I put the two thermal evaporation plants over this area, this little space in here, that'll fill it in nicely, and then I'll be able to finish off the walls in here and then work out what's going to be here. Again, I might move this setup here to over there and put all the Botania over there. We'll see, but I'm going to craft up the thermal evaporation towers. They're not too difficult to make, and then I'll come back. So I've got a bit of a dilemma here. I've managed to move one of these. I was moving one of these cables, and I accidentally filled this PRC with oxygen instead of hydrogen, and now the whole powers went out. And the thing I need to fix it is in the ME system. So, 1 second. Fixed. I made a gauge dropper using I manually took the things out of the drawer, and manually crafted that and took the oxygen out, and that seems to have fixed it. So I've made our 2 thermal evaporation plants here. I've got those max height, so 18 blocks tall. I'm using a resistive heater here to heat it up. Basically, the more heat you put in this, the higher temperature, the higher production. So, I mean, we're way overkill here, but I mean, why not? We can use the extra lithium to turn it into dust later on. And of course, I'll build up this thing and hide the ugly blocks here, but yeah, so with this lithium we need to use this to make the we first need to convert it into a liquid, and then use the liquid to solar neutron activate this into tritium. And I started setting that up here and realized that we don't have a way of transporting gas over to our reactor there, so I moved the solar neutron activators over there. And the other thing we need though is this deuterium, which needs heavy water, and that requires a bunch of pumps, so I think I'll put those in here instead. But this will need to be extended slightly, but I counted it out and they'll sit nicely here because I want to have 42 pumps in total. So I'm just printing off some more steel casings here in order to make these pumps. These also need filter upgrades on them. So I have those going to be auto crafted. That's a really simple recipe, but they each need a filter upgrade in order to pump heavy water rather than just regular water. And then using the heavy water, we just need to electrolytic separate that into deuterium, and then pump that into the reactor along with the tritium that I'm making, and that should give us millions of RF. So I'll show you what I've got here. So these solar neutron activators need to have sunlight in order to work. So I've just poked through here a little bit. Obviously I'm going to clean this up, put some conduit facades on these, and yeah, change out the blocks, but I wasn't originally planning to have it here. So the lithium comes from those evaporation towers into this tank. It all gets converted here and then sent into the neutron activators, and this converts it into the tritium here, which goes into these 5 gas tanks, and then from the gas tanks into the reactor. Originally I was going to put the lasers here that we need in order to initially power this reactor, because basically you need to fire it with a burst of energy. But since this setup is now here, it might look a bit cleaner if I spin the reactor around and move it back a few blocks and have the lasers on the front here. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move the reactor back and put this port on the other side, and I think that'll finish off our setup. But for now I need to get the pump set up and get the last of the fuel. It's so satisfying flooding an area with water here. I always like doing it. Okay, I got all the pumps placed here. So I have that just going into this ender tank here, so it's filled with heavy water. And let's go put the other tank on the other side. And that should be us able to get the reactor going. Okay, we should have everything that we now need for this reactor. So the way this works is you point these lasers towards the laser focus matrix, and we need to shoot millions of RF into this to get it started. But I placed the ender tank here with the heavy water. That's going into electrolytic separator. We're getting deuterium, and I'm pumping the tritium from the gas tanks here into separate ports. So we can see now that we have deuterium and tritium ready for reaction basically. So all we need to wait for now is this to get to 800 million. So it turns out we're missing one more thing, which is these things here. You need to basically fill these with DT fuel, which is a mix of deuterium and tritium there. So I'm glad I remember this, but basically you put this inside the reactor before you burst it with energy, and that's what causes this to start. That was the one thing I was missing. But anyway, I'm making DT fuel here, so I'm just putting some of the deuterium and tritium in this chemical infuser here, and then we should just be able to fill these, and they are single use, so I'll just make a few just in case we ever need to start the reactor again, in case something goes wrong basically. By the way, I noticed I didn't power the bottom one, so they're powered now, and we're halfway there. Alright, we now have enough energy here. We're at 900 million, so as soon as I flip this lever, we should be in business here. So let me just double check we have fuel in the reactor. Put this in. Yeah, max tritium, max deuterium. I'll leave it in injection rate 2 for now, and then, but I know for a fact we can bump this up. Basically, the more injection rate, the higher fuel consumption, but also the more heat and the more RF produced. So I think everything's set now. So I made a backup as well, but yeah, let's just start this. Nice. So what are the stats here? 50 mil. Oh, that's stored. Producing 200,000 and climbing with the injection rate of 2, and it looks like our fuel isn't going down yet. The heat's coming up. Nice, we're already at 104 million RF stored. I have this advanced power cell here grabbing all the energy. You know, I should really read the UI before I powered this up, because I noticed our power was going down and there was no more particles in here, and then yeah, minimum injection rate was 6 and I had this on 2. So let's try this again. Take 2. Let's try this again. So the starter fuel, make sure we have 800 million. Make sure the injection rate this time is above 6. So I'll put it to 14. That should be enough. Boom. Don't stand in the laser. So we are producing 200,000, 285,000 and climbing. Maybe last time it was going down, I don't know, but we're definitely getting more heat than last time. And our fuel is staying stable enough. 993, 993. Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on this, but this should now be a stable reactor. So now that our reactor's up and running and we really don't have to worry about power anymore, I can upgrade these void ore miners to the next few tiers and add some upgrades and modifiers and things like that. The upgraded void ore miners will allow us to progress a bit more. We still have to go to space as the next major goal, and also progress through magic. I think what I'll do first though is build this out for next time, and I'll figure this sort of section out. I'll also decide where I want the Britannia stuff, and then yeah, we'll go from there. But I'm really glad we got that second reactor done after the fail that was the first one. I'll also keep playing with the reactor injector settings to see how high we can get this RF generation. I think that's just about going to wrap up this episode here. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.